On paper, summer 2013 in film looked promising. There were a multitude of blockbusters on the horizon, some of which appeared like potential franchise starters, while veteran franchises had additional films on the way. Not to mention how deep summer 13 was. Many weekends had not just one, but sometimes 2, 3, or even 4 big movie releases, something you rarely see now. Today, we're lucky if we get 15 big film releases during the summer season, but summer 2013 had a mind-boggling 30 plus major releases. Unfortunately though, it did not live up to expectations. In hindsight, summer 13 was pretty disappointing. I don't think this summer from beginning to end had a single film I'd consider truly great. So in this video, I'm diving into the summer of 2013 in film, and discussing why ultimately it was disappointing. For whatever reason, Marvel always tends to secure the first weekend in May, and on May 3rd, 2013, they put out Iron Man 3. Now Marvel fans clearly had high expectations for Iron Man's third and final solo film, because at the box office, Iron Man 3 grossed $1.2 billion, and I think a lot of people in 2013 left that theater let down. Don't get me wrong, Iron Man 3's build-up is quite good with the Mandarin character. Tony Stark's relationship with Harley is also a highlight. Then, well, they ruin everything. Ben Kingsley's Mandarin is a fraud, and the real villain is actually Guy Pearce's Killian, a villain I couldn't care any less about. Iron Man 3 really is just another throwaway Marvel film that most people have probably forgotten, outside of the few cult fans who for some reason love it. Next up on May 10th was yet another remake of the classic Great Gatsby, this time starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, and Carey Mulligan. I wanted to watch this movie again before making the video, but honestly, I simply didn't feel like it, nor did I care. I watched The Great Gatsby 2013 once several years ago, and have barely given the film thought since. Truly, it's a movie that's best seen 1 or 2 times max. May 15th, 2013 brought us the sequel to 2009's Star Trek film, Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, back when I saw these movies for the first time, I remember liking Into Darkness more than the first film. But after maturing, I quickly realized Star Trek 2009 is far and away superior to Into Darkness. Not that Into Darkness is bad, I still think it's good. However, even as someone who's not a fan of Star Trek stuff outside of this trilogy, yeah, it's definitely a letdown, especially compared to the first. I know for a lot of people, Into Darkness was very disappointing. Some say it betrays classic Star Trek, making characters like Kirk look bad, and that Benedict Cumberbatch's Khan is shoehorned in. Labor Day weekend 2013 delivered 4 larger releases, including The Hangover Part 3, which, well, we all know they should have stuck to just one Hangover movie, Before Midnight, Epic, and Fast and Furious 6. I'll take this time to talk a little about the latter rather than the 3 formers. The 6th Fast and Furious film is pretty much exactly what you'd expect it to be, except just worse than the franchise's peak Fast 5. For that reason, it's absolutely disappointing. Because coming after Fast 5, people began to have higher expectations for Fast and Furious. But number 6 was the beginning of when this franchise went into full-blown ridiculous mode. From unrealistic car chases, to Superman-like durability, to endless runways, you gotta suspend your disbelief quite a bit while watching. Any sense of realism went out the window. So whenever I rewatch Fast 5, knowing what's coming next, I like to just stop watching there, and not continue onward with the 6th movie. Fast and Furious 6 had an opportunity to capitalize off Fast 5's greatness, and they fumbled in my opinion. Closing out May 2013 was M. Night Shyamalan's After Earth. We're gonna move on. Nothing to see here. As well as Now You See Me. I actually had high expectations for Now You See Me when I watched it for the first time, but unsurprisingly, it did not live up to my own hype. The concept seemed really cool, and because of that, alongside the stacked cast, I thought there was tons of potential. Sadly, once my viewing concluded, I was underwhelmed, and have not felt the need to watch it again. To kickstart June, not much changed as far as movie quality goes. June 7th saw the release of The Internship, Yet another film I saw once and never felt the need to rewatch. 2013's The Purge came out on June 7th too, and it's pretty bad. I don't know why Ethan Hawke and Lena Headey wasted their talent on this. June 12th delivered a comedy with an absolutely loaded cast, titled This Is the End. Now, some consider This Is the End a classic, calling it one of the 21st century's best comedies. I, however, disagree. The first time I watched This Is the End was roughly 5 years ago. My friend hyped it up to me, and I'll be honest, I didn't think it was that good. At the very least, there's plenty of other comedies from these comedy legends I'd rather watch over this. Not that it's bad, just mid, especially compared to the greatest comedies ever made. Then on June 14th, Man of Steel hit theaters. Okay, we all know this is a very divisive movie. Debates over Man of Steel's quality got reignited this summer when the 2025 Superman released, and because of that, I wanted to revisit Man of Steel one more time, to truly test how I feel about it now. So as of this recording, after a handful of watches in my lifetime, I can confirm Man of Steel is pretty good, but falls short of being spectacular. I still love Henry Cavill as Superman and the cast as a whole. It's one of summer 2013's best casts. Hans Zimmer's score is a favorite of mine. There are some riveting visuals. The film's overall vibe is epic, and I do love the origin story stuff. However, I can't overlook the slower pacing, particularly in the middle of Man of Steel. The colors are also too dull. There's virtually no Clark in Man of Steel, and I'll admit, Jonathan's death is incredibly stupid. Plus, the Lois Clark romance is very forced. Nevertheless, I do still believe it's right there for one of Superman's best movies. Alright, I'll stop myself there. I have a lot more to cover, so let's move on. June 21st, 2013 is when Monsters University came to theaters. Funny enough, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Monsters University may be my favorite film of summer 2013. I don't know why people don't like it more. Yes, Monsters U wasn't as good as Monsters Inc. Was it ever going to be though? Monsters University deserves more love. And so out of all the films I'm talking about today, this is one of the few that actually lived up to my expectations. World War Z, on the other hand, did not, which arrived on June 21st as well. Look, I think World War Z is solid. It's an enjoyable zombie movie with Brad Pitt, but that does not mean it's great. I remember seeing World War Z's trailers before release, thinking, man, this looks awesome. Then I saw the film, and my first thought was, that would have been way better if it were rated R. Just saying. Closing out June on June 28th was White House Down, a goofy action flick with Jamie Foxx and Channing Tatum, which oddly enough felt awfully similar to a movie that came out a few months prior. Sandra Bullock's The Heat came out the same weekend, and I'll be honest, I have nothing to say about it. To begin the month of July, we received two polar opposites in theaters, one of which was Despicable Me 2, a family-oriented animated movie that made serious cash at the box office, and The Lone Ranger, a new age western that was a box office bomb. However, and you knew this was coming, yup, Despicable Me 2 was pretty disappointing in my eyes. After the first Despicable Me, I expected more, and this just didn't live up. I'm sorry, I know Despicable Me 2 has a fan base, but I'm not one of those people. Meanwhile, despite losing a lot of money and generally being considered bad, The Lone Ranger is very underrated, I think. I understand why people weren't so high on the movie back in 2013. Come on though, it's way better than people were saying. I went into The Lone Ranger expecting a bad film, and ended my viewing pleasantly surprised. So, similar to a few other movies I've talked about in this video, The Lone Ranger is not a disappointment at all, and is quite good. If you saw The Lone Ranger back in 2013 and disliked it, give the film another shot. I promise it's not as bad as you thought. You may even like it this time. July 12th then brought us Guillermo del Toro's kaiju epic, Pacific Rim. When Pacific Rim released in summer 2013, I remember borderline loving it. Then I watched it again for the sake of this video, and I still think Pacific Rim is good. But once again, nothing spectacular. It really is the definition of a mindless summer blockbuster. You have mega kaiju fights, breathtaking visuals, cool music, and Prime Idris Elba. What's not to like? Pacific Rim is the type of movie I love but don't actually love, which is totally fine. For Guillermo del Toro standards though, Pacific Rim may be underwhelming to some people. Fruitvale Station also came out on July 12th, what is a very solid directorial debut for Ryan Coogler. And Grown Ups 2 came out, a comedy I shall never mention again. July 17th saw the release of Turbo, a middle-of-the-pack DreamWorks film I don't hear people talk about anymore. July 19th delivered The Conjuring, definitely one of summer 2013's best movies, Red 2, and alright, you know what? Let's forget that one. On July 26th, Blue Jasmine came out, and 20th Century Fox's latest X-Men solo movie, The Wolverine. So unlike most of the X-Men movies, I waited until this year to watch The Wolverine for the first time. I heard it was pretty good. However, I thought the film had potential and could be even better than what people were saying. Sadly for me, I think The Wolverine is probably worse than what critics and audiences hyped it up to be. One of the biggest problems for The Wolverine now is that Logan exists, and so automatically, I had to hold The Wolverine to the same standard. A standard the movie simply can't reach because of the PG-13 rating. The action sequences are relatively mid as a result. The Wolverine has a really cool Japanese backdrop too, but they don't do anything with it. The villain or villains are beyond forgettable, and the ending is really bad. I don't think the movie itself is actually trash. There are some nice elements here, but man, this could have been great. Finally, ending the month of July was The Smurfs 2. Okay, we can move on. Lastly, we're at August 2013, and you know what? This may be the strongest of the 4 summer months from that year. August 2nd delivered Two Guns, and you know what? I haven't seen the movie yet. I did not hear great things though. But you know what is a pretty great movie? The Spectacular Now, starring Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley. Easily one of the best romance films I've seen this century. Out of summer 2013's packed movie lineup, The Spectacular Now is one of the few that I consider great. August 7th then gave audiences Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. As a big fan of the first Percy Jackson, I had higher expectations for the sequel, and Sea of Monsters sucked. I watched it once and will never watch it again. We're the Millers came out the same weekend. I like this comedy a lot. Not one of the greatest comedies ever, but it is funny. In fact, I need to watch We're the Millers again soon. August 9th's big release was Elysium, from director Neil Blomkamp and starring Matt Damon. So fun fact, I changed my mind about Elysium from my first viewing to my second, which was a few weeks ago. The first time I saw Elysium, I was very disappointed. Then on rewatch, I actually liked it far more. I don't love the ending per se, but everything else is Blomkamp firing on all cylinders. August 16th had a big lineup of films, including Jobs, The Butler, and Kick-Ass 2. Again, nothing amazing from these three, but none of them are bad either. Finally, to end summer 2013's movie season, we got the release of You're Next and The World's End. Personally, I really love The World's End. Despite most of the summer movies being mid or just flat out bad, I'm happy the summer of 2013 closed out on a good note with this film. Thanks to this movie, I've taken part in some personal World's End challenges with my friends. All in all, while there are a handful of silver linings from the summer of 2013 in film, like The World's End, The Spectacular Now, Monsters University, and so on, I can't overlook the amount of movies that disappointed me considerably. Of the 30+ big movie releases, Iron Man 3, Star Trek Into Darkness, Fast and Furious 6, Despicable Me 2, and The Wolverine are what disappointed me the most. But now, I want to hear what you guys think. Did the summer of 2013 in film disappoint you? And tell me some of your favorites and disappointments from that summer down below in the comments. Well, thanks to those who stuck around and watched this whole video. Real quick, if you're new here and enjoyed yourself, make sure you subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Thanks again, everyone, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See you then.